Yo, what's good on the block? It is talking. Welcome back to the final reaction to the final part of the FNAF theory timeline, bro. The ultimate timeline. That's what I meant to say. So we at the very end, y'all. The FNAF community must not like matpat, bro, because y'all be in their comments flaming this dude. Y'all be talking about he just throwing stuff at the wall and everything, bro. Like, that's wild. But yeah, y'all, if y'all ready, let's get into it.
Hello,
we on the final part, y'all. The final part.
Game theory and the final part of my FNAF timeline, where today we're bringing our story to a close.
Yes,
by talking
sir.
about the most
Now this story has been wild so
controversial
far,
part of
dog.
the
I'm not gonna lie.
timeline, the part that I've
It's been
dreading
crazy.
most of all, the end. The moment where we're finally forced to come to some definitive and difficult answers, trying to explain what the heck we were watching in Security Breach.
Bro,
the last
I'm
two
so-
episodes have been about death. The death of Afton's family, the death
So he's
of
explaining.
multiple
Okay, so
children.
he's explaining what's happening in Security Breach. Which, by the way, if y'all don't know, I'm doing a playthrough in Security Breach right now. I personally don't care about story spoilers, you know. So
the death of the
it is what it
franchise
is.
itself, as Mike and Henry figuratively and literally burn it all down. Today's episode, though, and the current end of this franchise,
Okay.
is instead all about rebirth.
Rebirth.
The return of old characters in new forms.
Binding of
and
Isaac
the
rebirth,
controversial
brother.
rebirth of a franchise
Shout out.
entering the next era of its story. But before we hop into the timeline, due to scheduling conflicts, I won't be able to have any live talk back after this episode.
we don't care,
I know,
bro.
I
Hurry
promised
up, hurry
one, I
up.
was really
We gonna skip
excited
to the next
about it,
part.
but Fazbear Entertainment was dead.
There is no need for you to return to work next week, as Fazbear
Okay.
Entertainment is no longer a corporate entity.
Rest in
All
peace,
debts
Fazbear
paid,
Entertainment,
all
bro.
assets redistributed. The company
in
was
peace.
outright dissolved. Even the memories of the horrors that had happened there started to
Real
fade
quick,
away
bro. Y'all got y'all snacks? Make sure you get your snacks, bro. I got a little lemonade right here.
in the public consciousness. The people were gone too. William was dead. Henry was gone. A whole generation of young Emilys and Aftons had lost their lives to the
I dropped
horrors
my
of
cat,
the
bro.
pizzeria.
Oh, well.
All of them collateral damage to the man in the bunny suit. Everyone the company had ever touched was dead and gone. Well, all except one.
Pay your
Who else
child
lived?
support, you deadbeat.
Dang,
The
bro.
diamond ring. I also set the house on fire.
She kind of bad,
Clara
though.
Afton. She'd been there in the early days, back when things with William were good. They'd had the
The
perfect
pur- the
home,
purple
a thriving
woman, bro.
business, the ideal
The purple-
family. But
what do you
shortly
call
after
a-
their youngest son died, things
What do you call like a woman guy, bro? The purple guyette.
started to change. William had become distant,
You know what, bro?
lost in his work, obsessive. She had watched him change from this irritatingly brilliant man that she had fallen in love with to a drunken monster struggling.
Bro
to hold
became an
himself
alcoholic
together.
and just
despite her
started
trying
killing
to reach out to him
people,
in those
like-
desperate days, he was just too far gone.
So is she Ballora? Is his wife Ballora? Oh well, yeah, because he did say that. My bad, I keep pausing. He did say that he was trying to rebuild his family. So you know that's creepy, bro.
You wanted to let me in.
For her sake, she had to leave the relationship.
That's
And
creepy,
from there,
bro.
she largely
Ooh,
faded into
ooh.
obscurity. A mystery from William's
Ooh.
past. A footnote in his history. And that was fine for her. She wanted to leave that part of her life behind. She tried to move forward, never wanting to hear the name Freddy Fazbear again. A time defined by mistakes and broken promises. But then, the paperwork started to arrive. As
Yeah,
Fazbear
they
Entertainment
started
began to close as a
taxing
corporate
her, bro.
entity, suddenly her mail was flooded with notifications, requests, obligations. She had
You gotta
been there
spend
since
money
the
on
beginning,
this
helping
and that,
William in
bro.
the early days of his business. And now, as a shareholder and sole living member of the Afton family, all copyrights and trademarks of both Afton Robotics and Fazbear Entertainment
to her.
passed on to her.
Yup.
Memories of this past life that she had long left behind. Looking at the blueprints, the contracts, the memos,
She
it
got
felt
bills
old
and
wounds
stuff,
begin to
bro.
reopen. The regrets of a happy family that had been torn away from her. William had always been brilliant. That's what had attracted her to him in the first place. But he'd also
she like
been
a
too
smart
blinded
man.
by obsession and
Get with
pride.
me.
He was too jealous, too petty, too unable to actually see a
My
bigger
designs, my OC do not steal is crazy,
but now,
bro.
holding the paperwork that contained decades of heartbreak and trauma, she realized it was her turn. She was holding the power. This was her chance. And one thought resonated in her head. I will put them back together. I will put them all back together. She would be the one to rebuild this family. To
So she
rebuild
gonna
the
resurrect
pieces
everybody,
of that
bro?
shattered life. To reclaim the kids that Fazbear had stolen from her.
Get her
Now,
perfect
looking at
life
William's
back,
work
man.
now laid out before her, she knew that he had been onto something, collecting remnant, robotic humanoids, digital conscience transfers.
Dang,
the
bro.
pieces were all in place. They were just scattered, fragmented. It was almost like there were too many ideas going in too many different directions. It was
Too much
such an
stuff.
important idea that she reiterated that point to herself. There were too many ideas going in too many different directions. That said, there
Bro made that a fact to stand out. Because it seems like so far FNAF is just going nuts all over the place, bro. Matpat is mad, bro.
had to be a way to
Matpat is
save it all.
angry.
She just needed to put it all back together. But how? To rebuild her family, she would first need to rebuild the franchise that had stolen them away from her. With ownership over the characters, their licenses, the technology patents, and the Fazbear name, she converted the corporation back to an LLC, a structure for smaller businesses that are usually family-owned. The irony was fitting. From there, she would need remnant, and lots of it.
LLC,
Remnant was the
bro.
key. Clearly, in the
I need
later
to go ahead and
years
get
of
an
his life,
LLC, bro.
William
I'm not
had been
gonna lie.
using Circus Babies Entertainment and Rentals as a remnant farm, sending robots to kids' birthday parties in the hopes of nabbing bits of the stuff here and there. But clearly, it wasn't enough. He had, what, like 4, maybe 5 animatronics going out every week? No. It was a decent idea, but to get the remnant they required, it needed scale. Dozens, hundreds
A
of
bunch of
animatronics
millions,
all
bro.
out there, all gathering remnant from unsuspecting customers. But to do that would require help, something William would never ask for. William had kept everything in-house. His obsession with control limited him. Clara, though, she wasn't nearly that
He gotta
precious.
make everything
Plan like this
himself, bro. I
required
kinda get
partners,
that.
people
I kinda get that.
outside of Fazbear to do the heavy lifting. So she contacted a mid-sized delivery company, DLZ Shipping Solutions, to help build replicas of all the original animatronics. And with meal delivery apps being all the rage, why not an animatronic delivery service? Order one to celebrate your birthday, your Halloween
Imagine
party.
ordering
How
a
about 4th
big
of July
robot to come to your birthday, bro. Like,
picnic. We'll invite Liberty
It's
Chica
wild.
and 4th of July Freddy on over. She would make sure that they made skins for every occasion. Chocolate Bonnies for Easter, Shamrock Freddy's for St. Patrick's Day, Dia de los Muertos Chicas.
Oh,
And thus,
hell
the
nah,
Fazbear
bro.
Funtime service was born.
That's right. With the Fazbear
with
Funtime
Markiplier.
service, you'll never be alone.
Hey, I don't know if y'all know this, bro, but me and Markiplier are from the same city, bro.
Yeah. You'll always
Cincinnati.
have someone watching your back.
Was it ridiculous? Absolutely. Was it a sellout? Pff, no doubt. It was exactly the sort of thing that William would have hated, but it needed to be done to get enough remnant. Normally, the novelty of ordering an animatronic wore off after like what, 1, maybe 2 times? But with new skins for new holidays, suddenly you had yourself an animatronic perfect for every occasion. It would keep people hooked. It would keep them ordering the
Getting
latest
that
and
bread,
greatest that
getting that
Fazbear
breesh.
Entertainment LLC had
Getting
to
that
offer.
breesh.
And all the while, they'd be collecting and returning the remnant back to her. In a word, it was brilliant. There was just one problem with it. No one trusted the Fazbear name. The company's brand was still mud in the public eye. No one would want to hire animatronics from the restaurant franchise known for murdering children. Nothing kills a party quite like the threat of
Go
death,
ahead
you
and
know.
fucking
So
order
she
one of
needed
them just
find
for
a
it to
way
murder you, bro.
discredit
It's
the
nuts.
stories that had come before. She needed to win back the public's affections, reactivate some nostalgia for the spooky stories of their childhoods. She needed a game.
A game?
Multiple games, in fact.
They lied to us. They lied to all of us. They told us that the whole point of this VR game was to undo the bad PR done by a rogue indie game developer. But that's not true at all. Those indie games were designed to conceal and make light of what happened. This isn't just an attempt to rebrand. It's an elaborate cover-up.
Struggling game developers
So
were a dime a dozen.
they're using it to make it like a cover, like as she just said, a cover up, bro.
Online.
Distracting
Most
you,
working-
making you believe that look, these weren't real. It was all made up bullshit, and we gonna go ahead and make games out
on
of
their
these.
magnum opus between shifts at the Dollar General. So she found one. Steve just picked him out of obscurity. The right
Oh,
mix
Scott
of
Cawthon,
desperate and
Steve.
doofus willing to say and do anything for a couple extra bucks. And he fell right in line.
Shout out
as
Scott
expected,
Cawthon, bro.
Delivering
I
stupid
said
little
Cawthon.
things with dumb generic names like Mangle's Quest, Balloon Boy's Air Adventure, Five Nights at Freddy's. Bad gameplay with even worse graphics. But hey, they got the job done. People were suddenly talking about the clues inside of these things, searching for the hidden lore. They were actively making
I like how they
jokes
tied.
about
I
dead
like how
kids.
they tied in, bro. They tied in like him making the games into the story. Like that's.
At
I'm not gonna lie,
pizzerias.
that's
Her
massive.
husband's twisted history of serial murder had suddenly been reduced to a mere Nancy Drew mystery to be solved. The plan had worked. Freddy Fazbear's was suddenly more popular than ever. Things were going shockingly well. Her takeover and reboot of the franchise was full and complete. Suddenly infused with cash, she built the largest, most ambitious project yet, the Mega Pizza
Mega Pizzaplex.
William had always been so visionary.
Yes,
He always
sir.
thought so small scale. He was careful to a fault. Not her, though. She knew that this latest project needed to be big. It needed to be flashy. It needed to be a
Also, the next episode, Security Beach, coming out soon.
palace for children.
Just letting y'all
a place
know.
that got people talking and checking out the latest in Fazbear products. So with a steady supply of remnant flowing in, it was finally time. The stage was set. It was time to get to her real goal, literally rebuilding a family.
Get her family back, man. You gotta get her family back, bro.
2035. The first was obvious. The crying child, her little boy, the one that was the first to get ripped away from her. She'd seen down in his bunker that William had gotten very close to replicating
Rest in
artificial
peace to
humans
crying
using
child,
animatronic
bro.
technology. And so that's
He ain't
exactly what
deserve
she
it.
would do. Rebuild her boy from the ground up using robotic parts. His shaggy brown hair, his favorite striped shirt, even down to small details that no one would notice, like the band-aid on his left knee. William's research had even found ways of making animatronics that could bleed and process food, making them virtually indistinguishable from a typical human. He would never have any
I think
idea
I
of what he
remember-
actually was unless he was explicitly told. The only things that could possibly
There's no way. I remember hearing something about this a minute ago. I can't believe people look, I'm not deep into FNAF, bro, but like there is no way that Gregory is a robot, bro. That don't make no sense to me. What do y'all think that? Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about Gregory being a robot, bro.
ruin the illusion
Being
or any
an animatronic
override to his
himself,
internal
bro.
systems. If something were to say interfere with the cameras that he had in his eyes, or cause some sort of a core reboot to his hard drive, or x-ray his metallic bones, then yeah, he would be exposed. But otherwise, to the outside world, he was just your typical normal human boy. She worked down in the bowels of the Pizzaplex, giving him life, but it was one thing to build him, it was another to help him remember his identity. He died so young, so early in their history that there was no preserved memories for him, no documentation that she could just download into his digital brain. So bit by bit, she trained him, forcing him to remember who he was. In a corner of the room, she even made a makeshift dinner table, a reminder of their happier days. The family recreated: two brothers, a sister, a father, and the mother at the head of the table. The one in charge, the one in command, the one bringing all of this to
Matpat,
fruition.
you gotta back
But
up and stop
his
screaming in my
progress
ear,
was
bro.
admittedly slower than she would have liked. At first, he could only communicate through simple ones and zeros, then rudimentary drawings and crude letters. But bit by bit, images of his past life started to come through. Balloons, colors, houses, bears and faces, birthday parties. All for me. Gregory was alive. As the robot boy embraced her, she felt a warmth that she hadn't in decades. This was the joy that she'd been working
So
for.
he's claiming
this
that
was what it was all
he's claiming that Miss Afton, bro, after everybody died, bro, built this big ass pizzaplex and then built her son, bro.
for. Her son back in her arms again. The plan was working.
Does that make
Get
sense? I don't.
going.
You
Next
know, it's
was William.
FNAF,
If
bro.
the
I
family
can't
was
question
truly
it.
going to be put together, she would need him, and she knew exactly where he was, in the ruins of that old Freddy Fazbear's pizza place where Henry had trapped him. In fact, that's specifically why she insisted on building the pizzaplex there over the sinkhole. It was the best place to hide what her true intentions were with the entire operation. Digging through the wreckage, she found him. He was right where she thought he'd be. Seeing the putrid
Bro is
shell
just
of the
sitting there
Springtrap
bodied,
system
like-
was not something she was prepared for. The rotting corpse of William Afton was disgusting. Scorched
Ugh.
flesh fused into the fur lining.
Look at
Hollow
his teeth,
black
bro. His teeth
sockets
fat as
where eyes
shit.
once were. A smell that reeked of burned carbon and bloody iron. He was no longer flesh. He was just the tangled sinews of a creature that was once called human. How far this brilliant man had fallen. It was clear that her work was cut out for her on this one. Afton was practically lifeless. The man may
Bro-
not have
bro
been
is
able to
a
die,
husk.
but he was about as close as you could come. And his body would need a lot of reconstruction. Replacement arms and endoskeleton reinforcements were the top priority. Maybe pulled from their new line of glamrock animatronics. She'd have to see if they had any spare Bonnie parts lying around that they could steal. In the meantime, though,
Are
she
you
threw
ser-
the
bro,
husk
bro,
that
they-
was once her husband into a
Is that
life
where
support
Bonnie
pod
is,
and
bro?
infused with aerosolized remnant to help keep him stable. But more important than recovering his body was recovering his mind. In his current state, he was comatose, an empty shell. Severe brain damage starts at temperatures over 108 degrees Fahrenheit. 42 degrees Celsius, and years of repeated fires had burned his brain to goo.
Bro's
Gone was
brain
the
is
brilliant,
mush.
frustrating
His-
mind that had
his
drawn
brain
her
is
to him in the first
potatoes,
place.
bro.
But she had a plan. Unlike her darling boy
Wild.
Gregory, Afton had found ways to record his consciousness. Fundamentally, the brain is only a series of electrical connections after all, so why couldn't you replicate that in the form of a standard circuit board? In essence, you could create a digital consciousness. And one thing she knew about William, he was nothing if not cautious. A planner. Someone who had backup plans to his backup plans. And sure enough, there it was. Buried in piles of old animatronic CPUs, a record of Afton himself. But she needed someone to test it.
Someone was definitely here during the night. It had to have been the client. I mean, they sent us that stuff in the first place with no explanation, told us to scan it, said it would expedite the process so we wouldn't need to program any pathfinding ourselves.
Unlike the other games that she'd paid to
Dang.
have made in the past, this one had a different purpose. This wasn't about PR,
Hell,
it was
what
about
it-
getting William back up and running, spreading his virus to the masses.
You acknowledge that Fazbear Entertainment is not responsible for accidental digital consciousness transference, real-world manifestations of digital
Dang,
consciousness.
She
bro,
hired a new
what?
developer, Silver Parasol Games, to scan the boards and bring her husband into the system. And because of the immersive nature of VR, William's consciousness would be able to merge with the player, giving him a new body, a new agency. There was just one complication.
So you can take over their
Afton's
brain, bro, or
hold
something?
wasn't as powerful as she had hoped. He wasn't able to gain complete control. The first trial run, Jeremy, was so desperate to escape from his grasp that he sliced his own face off with a paper
Ugh.
clip. Messy. Afton's followers were
What?
reluctant, to say the least. But it was the second attempt that looked like it had the potential to kill two birds with one stone. Enter Vanessa. Mrs. Afton wanted a surrogate daughter. Her
Vanessa!
daughter, Elizabeth, would have been a young woman at this point if she had lived. And Clara wanted someone who wasn't Elizabeth but could be just like her. Could she have just rebuilt her like Gregory?
Vanessa?
Sure, but she decided against it because she wanted an actual human mother-daughter connection. Well, that, and it would be redundant and narratively unsatisfying to have two robot kids in the same family. What can she say? William
I
had put
guess.
a lot of tools on the table for her to use, and she was planning on using them all.
Imagine having
Plus,
two robots as
Elizabeth
your
had
children,
always
bro.
been so loyal to Daddy. It was time to give her a second chance, a true choice. And Vanessa seemed to be the perfect candidate to fill the role.
Your dad's name was Bill? Your dad didn't play fair, did he? He used to make your mum look bad in court. He manipulated you. I know your mum after she lost the custody case.
I was supposed to be a good girl.
She started as a QA
Dang,
tester
bro.
at Silver Parasol
I'm not gonna lie, that
Games, the
y'all
VR
got me
game
crying,
development
bro.
company that was part of her plan to bring back William. But more importantly, Vanessa checked all the correct boxes. Right age, blonde, green eyes with a fondness for flowers and the outdoors. In many ways, it was her daughter all over again. Except it wasn't just looks and personality. What really mattered was Vanessa's mind. Underconfident,
Dang.
coming from a broken home,
That's
mother
crazy,
able
bro.
to be manipulated.
This is nuts. I'm not gonna lie.
Nicely. She would be the one to save dear old Daddy, just as the real Elizabeth would have wanted.
I will make you proud, Daddy.
While testing the VR game, William's digital consciousness merged with Vanessa. Oh sure, she fought, fragmenting Afton's
So
code and
Vanessa
appeared
played
tapes hidden across
Help
the game,
Wanted,
trying
right?
to do web searches to regain control over her life, but it wasn't enough. She was weaker than Jeremy. She was a thrall that, despite occasional moments of lucidity, had to obey. And with Vanessa, it was a two-for-one deal. She was getting a daughter back while also bringing her husband one step closer to reactivation. She just had to make sure that Vanessa was headed the right way. The reborn Gregory was an expert hacker, part of the benefits of being an Afton and a robot. So Clara had him keeping tabs on Vanessa, hacking into her emails.
Bro, it was
and
an
training her
Afton
therapy
robot,
sessions
bro.
to ensure the future Elizabeth was falling in line. If any of the therapists started to ask too many questions, they were promptly dismissed from their positions. And while Gregory kept tabs
got
on Vanessa's
yoinked-
personal
yoinked
life,
away
Mrs.
from
Afton
life,
made
bro.
sure to clear a path for
Yoinked
her
away from
professionally.
life.
With Silver Parasol's collapse at the hands of the anomaly, she then had the possessed Vanessa bring the contaminated circuit boards to DLZ Shipping and the Fazbear Funtime service. More glitches, more Remnant, more Afton. But it was her last move that was the best. In a true masterpiece of poetry, she brought Vanessa over to be chief security officer at the pizza place. A true family tradition to don the hat and badge, and all it took was a recommendation from the top as well as some emails marked for deletion. Sure, Vanessa didn't have relevant experience for the job, but when it comes directly from the CEO, does it really matter?
Yeah, that don't matter at
Husband,
all, bro.
Son,
It don't matter
daughter,
at all, bro.
A corpse, a robot, a human. All that was left was Michael. Poor, troubled Michael. The boy that killed her youngest. The one that would spend years trying to make his guilty conscience right again. A self-professed protector. While she knew she needed him to complete the family, something told her that the problem had already solved itself. Something had shifted when using Glamrock Freddy to excavate the buried pizza place.
I have been here before. I found myself for the first time when I cleared the path. I have changed. My friends are here, but I can protect you. I am not
Maybe it was the remnant that had coursed through Michael's veins. Maybe it was the spirit of Michael living on as a protector.
What?
But he was there, somewhere inside of Glamrock Freddy.
How?
Could feel it. And just like that,
How?
she'd done it. Sure, there were still some kinks to work out.
Bro, just what? Just because Freddy is a protector, that just automatically means he's Michael, bro?
Some final brainwashing of Vanessa, some rehabilitation of William, but they were there. Finally, all together again under one roof. The Aftons reunited. A happy ending. And that's how it could have ended. That's how it should have ended, had it not been for a few unanticipated developments. For one, something was just wrong with the Pizzaplex. Almost as if the entire building was haunted, possessed. Puppet plushies hiding on ceilings, behind crates, places that they had no earthly way of belonging. Staff bots with greasy tears down their eyes acting like they were being puppeteered by some sort of a nightmare. Even their sounds had the echo of nightmares long past. It was as though a guardian spirit of the past refused to move on. As long as her husband was around, it too would linger. Only now, it wasn't just in one body, but it was in the essence of the building itself. She had seen stories of houses built on burial grounds getting possessed by angry spirits, but she'd never assumed that it could be real. Then again,
I guess that
living
makes sense,
spirit
right?
metal and mind-controlling glitches, who was she to be so judgmental? The
Yeah.
whole thing was ridiculous. Why would this be the line that she refused to cross? After all, the Pizzaplex was built over the burial ground of angry spirits, but it was the power cords that finally convinced her that something was wrong. Suddenly, these cords were striped black and white, like the security puppet from generations ago. The very foundations of this place, the materials and wires that constituted it, were rebelling against her, against the Aftons, against the quest to bring them all together.
Why specifically the wires,
by
though?
something else. Something
Like, why
slithering
specifically
through
the
building.
wires,
They were
though?
Connected, she couldn't be sure, but a blob of living wires could be heard oozing through the walls, stealing pieces and parts of the old animatronics showcased in Rockstar Row. She could only assume that it was a byproduct of all the remnant they'd been collecting. From Afton's testing, she knew that both light and dark remnant existed, one of positive emotions and the other created from anguish, anger, agony. Perhaps this thing was an amalgamation of all the darkest parts of the pizzeria's history, a collection of the hatred still housed inside these defunct endoskeletons and exos.
Pissed
As
off.
long as it was left alone, it seemed to be harmless. But if any Afton outside of Michael got too close, it would lash out wildly. Even young Gregory, looking to punish the family that had been complicit in its horrible creation. Little did she know, though, that Gregory should have been her biggest concern, that bringing the family together would have some unforeseen consequences. Gregory was normally the goodest of boys. She had literally built him that way. But lately, he'd been disappearing more and more often, disobeying her orders. Requests. She knew that he loved playing on the arcade machines once the Pizzaplex closed, being so good as to top the leaderboard on practically all of them. But lately, he was nowhere to be found. She suspected his absence had to do with Glamrock Freddy's failed performance the other night, when he malfunctioned live on stage, almost as though the core programming of Freddy
bro just
responded to
disappeared?
seeing this rebuilt small boy, almost like it awakened something inside of him. She'd have to make sure that Vanessa was on the lookout for him, but she'd soon come to learn that Vanessa wasn't enough. Whether it was the influence of the nightmare puppet or a reawakened hatred of animatronics seated deep in Gregory's code, something had caused him to rebel, to rip apart each animatronic in the Pizzaplex. Bit by bit, this boy was tearing down the empire that she'd so painstakingly built, freeing Vanessa from her mind control, destroying the remains of Afton in the basement, setting Glamrock Freddy loose. As her carefully created world crumbled around her one more time, she began to plot her revenge. She would have to bring them all to ruin. And there you have it, my friends, nearly a decade.
Okay. So he ends off with the Ruin in the DLC, bro. Which, by the way, after we finish Security Breach, I'm playing Ruin, bro. Overall, that story, bro, there's a couple things I don't agree with, but like, or that don't make sense to me. But it adds up given what he's saying, I guess. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. FNAF as a whole is wild, bro. It's definitely one of those things where it's like, as I said in the last episode, bro, in the last reaction, you gotta be on some stuff to go ahead and like think about stuff like this, you know? Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of y'all, man. If you're subscribed, go ahead and share the channel around. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Leave a like, you know? Love y'all, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.